station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
All right, it's 6 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. I'm Corey James.
Good morning. I'm Tanaya Wright. We're going to start you off with a live look outside on this Wednesday morning. A bit of a foggy start to our day, Jackie.
Exactly. We're seeing just a few locations where we're seeing that patchy, dense fog. You can see a little bit of that fog in this live shot of the White House at this point in time, but not really reducing that visibility all too much. But we are seeing that lower, especially back out towards Manassas and Frederick. But Manassas, we're actually slowly starting to see some improvement there. We're now up to 5 miles there. We were down to less than a mile about an hour or so ago. So at least we're seeing improvement there. Still down to 5 miles in Frederick, and that has been reduced down from 7 miles from earlier this morning. Temperatures out there right now, those temperatures vary. We're right around 30 in Manassas. So with that, with temperatures below the freezing mark, could be seeing some freezing fog there, which could make for some slick conditions. So just a heads up there. Otherwise, many of us are well above the freezing mark, and we're seeing right around 50 Martinsburg, Winchester, low 50s, Woodstock, upper 40s in Hagerstown, 41 in the district, 42 in Fredericksburg. So varying from one town to another. Also noticing that wind, sustained wind, very, very windy back out towards Kaiser, upwards of 40 miles per hour there. But elsewhere across the region, we're talking 5 to 15 mile per hour sustained winds. Gusts, though, over 40 out towards Kaiser, but many of us are seeing gusts between 15 and close to 25 miles per hour. Radar is all clear, and we'll continue those dry conditions for the day today. More rain on the way tomorrow. More details coming up. But Shanika's here. We look at the roadways. How's traffic?
Slow traffic along the Beltway outer loop. We have 2 left lanes blocked past this point, 650, because of a single vehicle into the concrete barrier. So you're seeing heavy traffic, and traffic is actually getting worse. You're jammed all the way back to past the 95 interchange and past Cherry Hill Road. So do be careful in this area. I would avoid it if you can. Once you ride out to past 29 Georgia Avenue, you're looking okay. The 270 spur even fine. 270 north and southbound, no problems at this time. It's not going to be a problem for a while. You're looking at the Beltway overall. When you look at DC 295, you're slow, and that's past Kenilworth Avenue.
Right, thank you, Shanika. A lot happening this morning, including this. The White House is firing back after a recent criticism, plus Maryland gets a new governor.
Yeah, let's take a look at this morning's top headlines. Starting in Annapolis this morning, we are just a few hours away from Governor-elect Wes Moore being sworn into office. It is the first change in the governor's mansion since 2015. Now, it's also a historic moment for the state, with Moore being the first black governor. DC News Now's Randy Bass is live this morning with more in just a few minutes.
And DC City Council overrides Mayor Bowser's veto of last year's sweeping criminal reform bill. It is now heading to Congress for review. Should it be approved, the law goes into effect in October of 2025.
And transit workers in Loudoun County are now entering week 2 of a strike calling for better pay and benefits. Union members asked the Board of Supervisors last night to intervene and stalling negotiations. They say the strike will continue until a fair deal is reached.
And the White House is brushing aside criticism after it was slow to disclose the discovery of classified documents in President Biden's home and former office. Meantime, the Department of Justice has appointed a special counsel to head up its own investigation.
And lastly, some breaking news this morning. A helicopter crashed near Ukraine's capital city, Kyiv, killing 18 people, including Ukraine's interior minister and 3 children. 29 other people were also hurt. Right now, it is unclear if the crash was an accident or related to the war. And it is a historic day ahead in Maryland's state capital of Annapolis, as political newcomer Wes Moore is getting ready to take the state's top office.
Our Randy Bass is live this morning in Annapolis, looking ahead to the big day and what it means for Marylanders as they meet their new governor. Randy, good morning.
Yeah, Corey, tonight, good morning from Annapolis, where in just a few hours, Inauguration Day happenings are set to get started at the State House, not far from where we are now. It marks the first changing of the guard here in Annapolis since 2015, when Governor Larry Hogan took office. Today, though, that change is set to happen at noon, when Governor-elect Wes Moore and Lieutenant Governor-elect Aruna Miller are set to be sworn in at the State House. People, politicians, and guests from across the state and beyond even are expected to descend upon the State House today for those ceremonies. Later tonight at 7 o'clock, the People's Gala, a ball to celebrate the inauguration of the 2 new leaders here in Maryland. That'll happen tonight in Baltimore. A quick look at what makes today so historic, why it's so important for the people of Maryland. The big implications here: combat veteran Wes Moore becomes the state's first black governor and just the third black governor ever elected in the U.S. Former state delegate Aruna Miller making history too as the state's first female lieutenant governor. As for some of their campaign platforms and promises, the pairs say they're planning to throw resources behind curbing crime, raising wealth and wages for Marylanders, and bolstering education efforts across the state. Be sure to stick with DC News Now all morning long and through the noon hour. We have coverage, special coverage this morning starting at 11:30. In Annapolis, I'm Randy Bass, DC News Now.
Thank you, Randy. Developing now, police are investigating a deadly triple shooting that happened last night in Southeast. Now, it happened just before 9 o'clock last night on Benning Road right near H Street. Police say a man and teen were also injured, but they are expected to survive. Police say a man fired on the teen and a man outside of a nearby restaurant. A woman inside who was hit was not the target. That teen somehow pulled out a gun and fired back at the shooter, who was able to get away from the scene. Police say the teen is now facing charges for illegally firing a gun.
With this particular case, a 15-year-old with a gun, by no way, shape, or form would that have been legal for him to or justifiably defend himself.
Now, police are searching the area for additional footage. If they make any other arrests in this case, we'll, of course, bring you those details.
And another developing story this morning in the deadly shooting of 13-year-old Karan Blake. We may soon get a look at some critical evidence. You might remember Blake was shot more than a week ago in Northeast D.C. near Brookland, and the gunman, a city employee, according to Mayor Bowser. Now, police say the shooter, who has not been identified, told them Blake was breaking into cars along the street. Yesterday, we learned the body cam footage of the responding officers will soon be released. Mayor Bowser initially denied one council member's request to release the footage, but by law, she was forced to honor a request by Councilmember Brooke Pinto. Pinto was chairwoman of the Committee on the Judiciary and Public Safety. Now, as soon as we learn more about the release of the body cam footage, we, of course, will be sure to bring that to you both online and on air. And happening today, the DC Youth Summit will address some growing concerns about youth safety and gun violence in the district. The group offers regular teams the opportunity to offer solutions in the fight against violence. Now, different youth groups like DC Action, DC Girls Coalition, Critical Exposure, and others will discuss their concerns with DC leadership. That event will be at Thurgood Marshall Center in Northwest DC at 5:30 tonight.
The continued investigation has now allowed police to obtain an arrest warrant charging Brian Walsh with the murder of his wife.
And continuing coverage in the case of a husband of missing D.C. realtor Anna Walsh. Brian Walsh, her husband, is now charged with her murder after originally being charged with misleading police in the search for her. Investigators say they found a bloody knife in the basement of their home and even more evidence at a trash transfer station. Prosecutors also say they found internet searches on Walsh's computer on how to dismember and hide a body. The murder charge comes more than 2 weeks after the 39-year-old mother of three went missing. And developing now, work is finally underway to remove hundreds of tires that were illegally dumped under a portion of I-295 and Anacostia Park.
Yeah, neighbors first found the tires last month, and that's where they've remained since then. Our Dave Laval has a look at when the eyesore is expected to be removed.
Seeing them finally go is such a relief.
Sean McGinty and the rest of the National Park Service are working to clear out this massive mound of tires in a portion of Anacostia Park.
This park belongs to the public. It's a jewel in the middle of Washington, D.C. Although Anacostia Park is a national park, you know, it's a community park as well that serves the local area.
We're very happy. This is a significant victory.
Nathan Harrington heads the community group Ward 8 Woods, which found the tires December 23rd. Although he's happy the tires are finally being removed, Harrington wants to see more done by the National Park Service to prevent similar dumping in the future.
It shouldn't take, you know, residents coming upon something and, taking pictures and going viral and getting on the news in order to have, you know, basic enforcement against illegal dumping.
The National Park Service and U.S. Park Police are still trying to figure out who dumped the roughly 1,000 tires, but McGinty believes they may know where someone dumped them. From above on the I-295 overpass.
There were tires still remaining on the overpass, and if you can see, there are still some tires hanging from trees behind me.
The ongoing investigation and the weather slowed the removal of the tires to a recycling center. McGinty says there's another reason.
We are loading the tires into trucks, driving them up to Baltimore, and that takes time to get the trucks back here to do more loads.
The last of the tires should be gone by the end of the week.